From Transformers Alternators, this is Subaru Impreza WRX. My apologies, it's Silverstreak. But because alternators were made more for the adult car collectors, you better believe that they put the car brand way above the Transformer name. And also, what a great looking logo. This is still my favorite, font for Transformers. But you can see, we got the car here, we got Silverstreak, Bluestreak here. You got the picture of him here on the side. Here on the back, we got another robot mode and the car mode. You got the removable intercooler becomes reppin'. Oh, new body style. This was the first time this mold was released. It would come out again as smokescreen very soon after. Adjustable seats and detailed interior. And then here you got the car mode. Looks great. And then here on the bottom, you can see Hound came out this wave. Hound was, I think, the first time alternators really did something great. And Silverstreak, meanwhile, was still pretty good. Better than Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, and better than Optimus. Now, the reason I bring all this up, you might notice his name, Silverstreak. This is Bluestreak. Basically, they just lost the name in the early 2000s, so for a long time, the guy was Silverstreak. And no, he was never blue. But this mold was turned blue, but that was smokescreen. Alright, that's enough preamble. Looking at Silverstreak, the guy looks great. Honestly, again, like many alternators, this is one of the best car modes ever in Transformers. Incredibly solid, looks just like the car. Keep in mind, alternators was more popular with car collectors, toy car collectors, than they were with Transformers fans. And I think that just goes to show how good these guys were when it came to being just tiny versions of these vehicles. You can see, just like it said on the box, we got the steering wheel, we got the seats. Seats can be adjustable. Oop, that's a bit stiff with age, but it works. Boop. You can see that, unfortunately, the door does kind of slide around a bit. It's not quite as solid as the Mazda RX-8, aka the Shock Blast mold, but it's still pretty good all around. I really like how the light gets reflected by these headlights up here. You can also, that's the engine block. I would like to pop the hood, though. Here we go. Pop the hood, you can see there is an engine, or at least an approximation to an engine down there. It's really just the gun. And then, can we open up the trunk? We can. Not very far, but there's the trunk. Alright, pretty solid all around. What does that say? It just says Silverstreak. It would have been cute if they had put BLU there, but I guess maybe they couldn't do that. Oh well. Overall, solid looking car. Now, let's see the robot mode. Looking out Silverstreak, my first thought is just, I can see a lot of Shock Blast here. A lot of the transformation here, you would see again in that mold that Meister and Shock Blast had, but there it felt just a little bit cleaner. This one's still very rough. I could see how this is the in-between from Sideswipe to that mold. For one, the robot mode looks great. The proportions here are so much better than they were on Optimus or on the Sideswipe mold. That said, there's not a lot of lock-in points, just very floppy. Legs, kind of iffy. Also, very big kibble back here. Here's my biggest issue, and interestingly enough, this is an issue that was also on Shock Blast. You absolutely do just have to take this piece off, because otherwise the chest transformation just does not work. That's an issue I had on Shock Blast, it's the issue I'm having here. But the look of the figure is great. It's one of the better looking Bluestreaks I have ever seen. Looking at him, I think this feels more like Prowl than Bluestreak, and the reason that's weird is Prowl had a completely different mold, but that head sculpt, that sneer, that's way more Prowl than Bluestreak. Even still, it looks really good. I especially love the blue eyes and the red chevron. The head sculpt is just gorgeous. The chest design's great, and I love the big Autobot logo. It feels like this was the first time an alternator really felt like a transformer and not like a gimmick. And there would be a lot of alternators that would come after this guy that were better, in all honesty, but this was really getting to where it could get that way. Bluestreak and Hound absolutely were cutting a path for the rest of the toy line. Looking the figure over, the aesthetics are great, and I really love the proportions, I love the color scheme. It's not the most electrifying of color schemes, admittedly, it's very kind of mundane, but it's perfect for Bluestreak. Now, looking over the body and the articulation, we have a ball joint at the head, very good range in that ball joint. Yeah, remember I said loose. So, hold the chest down, you have a universal in the shoulder, but it's kind of impairs itself, unfortunately. You do have no upper arm cut, but a double joint elbow, which is nice. And then mid-knuckle joint, nothing in the thumb, but you do have a wrist swivel. So then you have a waist joint, very good. You have a ball joint down here at the hip. It does impair itself a bit. You have a good knee. Again, it starts colliding on itself. And then down here, the feet have no articulation, but they're so big you can get them in basically any pose. So again, the form is great. The function still needs to be worked on, but it's getting to where we wanted alternators to be. This guy is old, he is showing his age, but he's getting to that brilliant standard that alternators would become more synonymous with. On top of that, he has a great weapon. So, that engine block from earlier, boop, it's actually a pretty solid looking rifle. And we're going to put it right in his hand, like so. Notice that there's a peg on the handle, so it's going to fit very snugly into his hand. And then, yeah, good looking gun all around. Even with all the impairments in articulation, the gun really does help to bring this guy together. You can get him some good action poses, and the aesthetics are already more than helping carry this guy. Good looks can get you far. Having just a little bit of functionality past that, at that point, the world's your oyster. Getting him together with Alternator Shock Blast, and you can really see the similarities I was talking about. Proportions are almost identical, and aside from that difference in kibble there, most of the places where the pieces wound up are exactly the same. It feels like this was step 1 and this was step 3. It's a wonderful look at how the engineering evolved throughout all of Alternators. And don't take this away from Silverstreak. No, he's not as articulated. No, he's not as fun as Shock Blast, but he's still a great feeling toy. One of the best, even. In terms of alternators, Silverstreak is still one of the easiest ones to come across. I wouldn't recommend him as much as I would, say, Shock Blast or Hound, but he's still a good toy for what he is. A massive figure, very, very weighty in hand, and a type of transformation that you just will never find in Transformers again. Not because it was better, in some ways it's actually quite worse, but it's unique all the same. Would I recommend this guy? Well, if you're into alternators already, absolutely. If you're just looking for a great alternators experience though, there's better toys out there. Maybe Prowl, maybe Hound, Swindle, either the Ravages, or, of course, my boy, Shock Blast.